All right, I'd like to call this meeting of the Planning Board of Cold Spring to order. In terms of going through the agenda today, we only have two main items. I don't have any remarks. Does anyone have any additional items they'd like to add or modify to today's agenda? Okay. We don't have new minutes to approve just yet. Any report from any members about goings on?
Not for me. I missed the last meeting. I wasn't here.
Yeah. We don't have any correspondences right now. And no old business to discuss, although we have our hearing. The reminder at the end of the month, the 23rd, is that right, Karen?
Yes.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. So please let me know loudly and early if something
Yeah,
comes
I'm
up,
here.
if you're not able to come, but all right. I think we can move on to our new business. We have two applications in front of us. Very different. We've got a change of use for 26 Main Street and a subdivision, which is a rarity for this board because we don't have a lot of lots that can be subdivided in the village left. So that'll be a fun thing to talk about. I'd like to start with 26 Main. We have Gina here with us. Thank you for coming and joining us. Just for your context, this is a workshop meeting.
Okay.
The main goal is just to make sure that the application is, you come up and join us if you'd like.
Great.
The main purpose of this is really to, yeah, you can take it for now. If we need to, and Karen, yeah.
Great.
You can bring it in, Karen, in case you haven't come. So the main goal of this is really, it's informational. It's to make sure your application has the information in it that we would like to see that allow us to get to a hearing and make a determination.
Okay.
So what we're going to talk about today is just the substance of the application. We'll ask questions. We'll probably ask for additional information and material. We try to make it as efficient as possible, but it's for the most part, we'll ask you for more information, and then you'll come back next time with that information, and maybe we'll ask you for more information, and then you may come back again. So just to set your own expectations about how this evolves, it usually is a couple of meetings of making sure that we feel like the application is complete, and if we feel like it's ready to move on to a hearing to make a judgment, then we'll schedule that. So is it all clear?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Okay, so for 26 Main, we've got a change of use. It's currently a dance studio. Is that right?
They have moved out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's Susie's building.
And it's a change of use to retail, specifically international home goods. Right. Great. So I think everyone's had a chance to look through the application and the material you provided. There's definitely some things that I have noted that we'd like to see a little bit more detail on.
Sure.
But so I can make quick note of those, and then we can go around to see if other folks have other things that they have identified. So generally, like when we have a site plan that we're trying to evaluate, even though I know that the only changes are really happening inside, the change of use, one of the things that we think about is, okay, given this new use for the whole of the property, what is the way in which the whole property is now going to be used maybe differently than it was before?
Sure.
So things that we would really want to see as a part of a site plan, are just general access, like where do people enter, where do they exit, where is trash located, the lighting that exists outside, the signage, the parking that would be available for folks visiting the retail spot or for people working there. And those should all be kind of noted in a kind of, top-down exterior site plan type, called survey drawing,
Yeah.
basically,
Yeah.
yeah. And having those details will help us, because I recognize that those are basically just calling out things that already exist. So you're not saying like, oh, we're doing these things.
Right, we're not changing.
Yeah.
Most of the things in there.
Yeah,
So,
but what's important for us is like, to know what those things are, so that if it's possible that the change of use might induce a need for an exterior modification.
okay,
Not saying it will, but we have to treat the application as a whole of understanding the use both inside, but also what it means in the context of the lot as a whole and the neighborhood.
okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, tell me about lighting, what you want to see there.
Really just where the exterior lighting is.
Exterior
Yeah,
lighting.
yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
So signage, parking,
Yeah, now,
go ahead.
yeah, for parking, how do other retail stores do it, since most places don't have parking here?
Yeah, so there is a parking requirement for the use. Some have, spaces available.
Mhm.
Most of the village, a lot of the village is pre-existing non-conforming with respect to the code. Because you're not doing external modifications, there's kind of like the fact of the building as it stands.
Okay,
So it really kind of depends on whether, you can imagine if someone is redoing an entire lot or making substantial modifications to an existing building,
mhm,
that might, including the where parking currently exists, that might trigger an evaluation of saying, oh, changing the use, you're modifying the lot, and you should actually accommodate additional parking as a result, right? Because you have the space for it, and it's a requirement, and we have to get to a conforming site plan in order to get. It doesn't apply in your case, but we need to just kind of do the diligence of saying, okay, what is the parking that's currently available, so that we can say emphatically what the pre-existing state is with respect to the code.
okay,
Does that make sense?
Yep.
Okay. Any other questions about that stuff?
I know you want a site plan, like, are you looking for more, like, should I put together a PowerPoint for you guys, or just regular documentation?
So you don't need a PowerPoint, yeah. So just, this is a kind of site plan. It has, it's related to another application that we have today. But it has information about the lot, the building, how it relates to the edges of the lot, the parking that's present, the lighting, the walkways. If there are, you might want to call out things like, there's wheelchair accessibility here, or there's not, or there's, just like helping us understand kind of what the dimensionality and the kind of state of the ground is for the building, and with respect to what will be a retail use.
Right, that's obviously a very formal
Yes.
drawing and
Yeah.
everything. I imagine you are expecting that type of formality in what we submit?
I think so, yes.
Do
Okay,
you have
I was
it?
just gonna jump in there on that
Yeah.
point. I think in the past, the planning board has waived that requirement for a simple change of use where there's no exterior construction. So it's really up to the board if you guys wanna, think about that amongst yourselves and decide whether you want a full architectural or, engineering
Yeah,
site plan or just
That's
a
fair.
sketch.
I think in lieu of that, I would be okay with a visit to the site, and it doesn't have to be a formal PowerPoint, but I would like you to address at least in some way the items that we've laid out. Does
I
it?
believe there was a recent site survey since the building was just purchased in
Yeah.
December, so I can probably use those.
That would be
to,
great.
like,
Yeah, that'd be
just at
that'd be really helpful.
least, know,
Yeah,
notate all of these things that you're looking
Yeah.
for, and then.
yeah.
Okay,
And even just having sort of been through the process as the applicant myself, possibly, I'll just make a suggestion.
Yeah.
I mean, it's really up to the board. But even just a roughly to scale, almost hand drawn
Yeah.
with a ruler, sort of, do the best you can, showing like the things that I personally would be interested in seeing is just sort of almost photograph the building or anything that's key, and then drawn sort of just showing access and egress and so forth, just to show flow. It's like this is how
Yeah.
people are going to come in, this is how people are going to come out, and
Yeah.
and especially if there are going to be any changes, like if there are any, if you're addressing any safety concerns, that the lighting is a big one, just for if you're going to be people going to be coming in the evening and so forth. I'm sure there'll be evening hours that you're going to want to be open to. You're talking about general retail, not just by appointment, right?
Yeah,
Yeah. Okay. So you're open to the public, and so how can it be safe?
sure.
I imagine with signage, you're going to get into HDRP.
I
boards,
did actually meet with them this week.
You have, okay, right. So you've been through that. So you know all about that. So yeah, I mean, I personally like to sort of keep things as sort of sort of plain English and easy access from the consumer point, from the customer point of view, from your point of view. Basically,
Sure.
I wouldn't want you to get into hugely expensive, professional fees to get into this process. So
Appreciate it.
yeah, no, I've had to do that myself. It's not fun.
Yeah.
So,
I think in the past, we've had applicants submit something like this where they, basically just draw on the sidewalk outside and the parking behind and the dumpster. So just to give the board an idea.
If
of-
there is a survey from the sale, that would be helpful.
Yeah.
Just to help us contextualize it within, I think, we're familiar with the village, we know that lot, but just to have it as a point of reference. And to Ben's point, I think the photos would also just be super helpful.
Okay. All right, great.
And I think from my perspective, we have all that, I think I don't need a site visit either.
I don't need one.
Okay.
Just
This
because.
is the dance studio
Yeah.
place by the train tracks,
Yeah.
right? Okay.
Mm.
I've never been in it, but I'm guessing that since it's a dance studio, it doesn't have a lot of walls.
Right, exactly. It was really I mean, it
It's a big room.
just had mirrors. We
Yeah.
took the mirrors down. That
Yeah.
was about it.
Right.
So
Okay.
keeping it nice and open like that.
Yeah, so I guess it's signage, lighting,
Trash,
trash,
access.
the things that would be different with a retail store versus a dance studio.
Yeah, I think it's where we're just also understanding parking and, just as a thing that I think we're, as a board generally trying to push, towards more accessibility in the village generally. Not saying that you're not doing
I think
exterior
we're very
modification.
lucky that we don't have any stairs going
Yeah.
into the business
Yeah.
building or anything.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, as I started getting some furniture delivered, I was like, "Thank God I don't have stairs."
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
very easy access.
It's really easy access. Yeah, just
Yeah.
boom, straight in off the street.
But yeah, like calling that out, it would be super helpful.
Okay.
Is there anything?
I have nothing more to add.
Great.
The only question I have is, are you planning to use this parking area that's currently behind the building for customers? Do you have access to that
So
or?
we do have 2 parking spots, but I would imagine it would be myself and then whoever might be working for me. If I do have a client coming in who may be doing like a big design project, then surely like get them off the street and
Yeah.
everything.
I think the code would only require you to have, a minimum of 1 space anyway, so you probably meet the requirement.
Okay.
That was just kind of I did a very rough calculation based off of the size here, but it looks like you're under 1,000 square feet. I don't know if you.
Yeah.
Okay, and maybe if you can just put that on there, it doesn't have to be
Okay.
exact, but just what you think the square footage is.
Okay. Excellent. Great. Can I just quickly run through the process then, just so,
Yeah.
because we're, anxious to open.
Yep.
Summertime, prime,
Yeah.
Sure.
prime retail. So the next meeting is May 23rd, is that correct?
It's a hearing.
Hearing.
It's a public hearing. We're addressing another, do we do double duty with hearings and workshop
You
work?
could, yeah,
Yeah, we could.
yeah.
Okay. I think if you are able to have these items available to us, let's call it 6 days before the
Okay,
hearing, then we can add that to the agenda for the hearing.
all right, great.
And just logistically speaking, if the board feels comfortable, you could schedule a public hearing for the meeting following
Yeah.
that one, schedule that tonight, contingent upon, these additional details being added.
But how does that work in terms of the timing on the notice?
So I think, assuming the applicant comes to the next meeting with everything.
yeah.
Then, I think Karen, could you have everything ready for, I'm not sure what the date would be, but the first meeting in June?
First meeting in June would probably work. Let me just look again.
18?
Oh, because of the extra time between the,
Right.
okay, I
Right.
gotcha.
So that would be. The 13th. I think we'd be okay. We'd have to. Because it would have to publish on the last Thursday in May, which would be the 30th. And then the 6th.
Yeah.
Okay.
So if she's here on the 23rd,
Yeah.
we should be able to do it.
We can do the notice ahead of
Sure.
time,
Mhm.
make any changes if
Yeah.
need be.
And you said that public hearing is June 13th?
Yeah.
Okay.
And technically, the board has to make a motion and vote to schedule that.
Right,
but-
Right, so assuming you bring us the things, you bring us the things we want and nothing is surprising, everything looks in order, we will say, call the application complete. We will confirm that we will be doing the public hearing. Probably some other things to call out. Part of the public hearing is to involve other folks who are potentially impacted by the change.
Sure.
So there's a requirement to give notice as a part of that public hearing, but generally it's better if you have done the work ahead of time to talk to them about what their feelings are about the change and so we're not surprised necessarily at the meeting by someone coming in and with heavy dissenting or concerns that you haven't addressed yet.
Okay, understood.
But yeah, I guess in some ways you're fortunate that the timing has worked out for, assuming this all goes well, going from initial application to hearing, that would be about as fast as is possible for this board to move.
All right,
So yeah, if you can get that material to us, like I said, 6 days prior to the hearing date, so
Yeah.
that's the 17th.
okay,
That'll give us time to review and potentially note anything that we asked for that wasn't included.
all right, sounds great.
Okay.
Yeah.
You can meet a bulk of your neighbors in the wine bar. I'm actually not kidding.
Yeah. Yeah.
I just met the owner
Yeah.
today, so maybe I'll pop in there right now.
Yeah.
All right, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Nice meeting everyone.
Okay. So we move on to the next. Shall we move on to the next item? Okay. We've got a subdivision for 6 Belvedere. With Jonathan Miranda. Right. So, come up. Great. Okay, so, we should wind up this. Just because this is a thing we don't do very often, I wanted to kind of run through broadly the process. Sure. So that everyone's kind of clear on what the general steps are and some of the things that we care about and are going to be considering and to try to figure out what the facts on the ground are and try to work our way to an approval. So the subdivision is mostly governed by chapter 111. There are references from chapter 111 to chapter 134 You can find both of these documents on the village website if you haven't perused those.
Okay.
And especially 111, I think, aside from what we talked to you about today, it's not that long. It's pretty relevant to all the things you want to do, and it should be readable and interpretable for the
Okay,
most
great.
part. So I highly suggest you kind of review that.
111 and 134, we said, right?
134 is the whole of the village
Okay.
code. 111 is only about subdivisions.
Beautiful.
So you could probably just get away with just getting
Okay,
that.
Good to know.
Don't want to give you too much homework. Okay, so the broad process is as follows. So there's a submission of a sketch plan. You've submitted the sketch plan. And our kind of first job as a planning board is to make a determination about the nature of the subdivision request,
Sure.
given the sketch plan.
Minor.
Yeah, minor, or boundary adjustment. Obviously not applicable here, but that is one of the things that could come through in this process. So we will then have this meeting, which is to discuss the sketch plan and make that classification.
Okay.
And assuming that we we can make that determination, given the information that we have, then we kind of move on to what looks like more like a normal planning board process, where you formally submit an application, and that includes a SEGRA EAF, environmental assessment form, along with some other items that are kind of detailed in that process. And we'll go through making sure that application is complete, which will probably include involving consultants from the village. So that may be the Jonathan, might also be,
Jonathan.
yeah,
Nick.
it might also be the village engineer, and potentially consulting with other municipal services like water and sanitation.
Okay.
Assuming that we get to a place where we all agree, this is a complete application, ready to go. Similar thing to what we just discussed for 26 Main, we'll go to a public hearing, where you'll notify the neighbors, and hopefully folks will come and engage with that process, give their feedback, and then we'll approve, deny, or approve with modification, and we'll be done.
Okay.
Any questions about that kind of broad outline?
I guess I'm just curious about time frame. So the property itself, I got it in, I believe it was I don't remember. I had so many jobs going on, but a few months.
September?
It might have been in September.
Yeah.
And basically full rehab. So
Yep.
We did an addition on the house. It was a cute house. It's a really cute area, but it just needed some help. So
Yeah.
we helped it out, and we actually put it on the market recently,
Yep.
right? But obviously you see
Yeah.
the issue with all of that. So just trying to kind of gauge what that timeline looks like, I guess.
So
If you have any idea, again.
we won't know for sure until we get all the information that we
Sure.
need in order to make determinations. One of the things to be aware of with this particular process is we haven't even gotten to the normal planning board
Procedure, yeah.
procedure yet. We're in the preliminary,
Makes sense.
part. So, and because of things about how long we have to notify the public in advance of a public hearing, sometimes even though we might get to, let's say we get to a meeting at the end of the month, or maybe or the following meeting, and we're okay, you're good, you got the application already, and we say we're ready for the public hearing, we may not be able to schedule the public hearing for the next meeting
Sure.
because we don't have enough time to get it in the public notice.
Yeah.
So, in which case it might be a full month after that. So I think, again, not this is highly contingent on all the details that we evaluate,
Of course.
but I think broadly an expectation of 2 to 3 months is
Okay.
probably ballpark, right?
Okay.
Jonathan, would you agree with
I
that?
would, yeah, I would think so.
Okay.
Yeah. And if we get lucky on timing, maybe it'll be a little bit faster, but
Sure.
I wouldn't bet
I
on
was
it.
thinking that was
Yeah.
what I was looking at in the first
Yeah,
place, so.
and
yeah.
and just so you know, we don't want to prolong this. We don't want,
Sure.
we don't want to drag it
Sure.
out. We want to try to make a really expedient set of judgments and feedback for you. It's not helpful for anybody for us to prolong the, you know,
Sure, sure.
the process. Okay, so, all right, so the goal before us right now is just to make the determination of major or minor. And you know, the designation of the minor, you know, the definition of minor in the code is just like subdivision containing, you know, any subdivision containing two lots, blocks, or sites, whether or not fronting an existing street, not involving a new public street, public road, not adversely affecting the development or remainder of the parcel or adjoining property, and not in conflict with any provision or portion of the comprehensive plan, official map, zoning law, or any such of these regulations. So I think that there's a lot, I think we are missing some things with the sketch plan to be able to, I think there's a question that like there's this, in some ways, this is a simpler, a simpler case. So I think we may be able to get to a determination about this today,
Mhm.
but there are a number of things that are missing in the sketch plan that I think we would need in order to feel confident about that determination. So in the chapter 111 that I pointed you to, there's a number of kind of sketch plan requirements that are kind of laid out in there about like what needs to be included in there. And you'll see some of these are things that you have provided, some of them you've not yet provided. So we'll go through that list. Also ask, just for ease of our reference, if we can get a higher res version of the digital copy, because the current version is not actually readable.
Is it the CAD version that you're mentioning?
I think there's just a PDF, and that could be an issue on our end, but.
Yeah.
Is it of that exact?
Yeah,
copy?
it's of this thing.
Interesting, yeah, I
Yeah.
can give you a better copy for sure.
Yeah.
I also have a CAD version too, so
Okay.
if that helps at all.
Any way you can get a PDF that just like, I guess the main thing I would ask is that the chart be readable.
Okay.
So whatever digital version that you produce, if you can read the fine print and the
Sure.
chart, then we're probably okay.
Okay, cool.
Okay, so let me go through this list really quick, just the sketch plan requirements. So we got the location of the portion that's to be subdivided. We've got that. We've got distance to the nearest street, existing street intersection. So we've got it's on the street. John, does it need to be also noted to like where it intersects with Morris?
Yeah, I
Okay.
think that would,
There's a 150-foot,
Oh yeah, 150 to Morris. Okay, so we have that.
Oh, I see it there, yeah.
All existing structures, wooded areas, streams, and other significant features within the portion to be subdivided and within 200 feet thereof. If topographic conditions are significant, contours should be added. I haven't actually been up to look at the site. So I don't actually know if the site has significant contours. I assume not, given its location.
Yeah.
So if that's true, then I'm probably okay with this level of detail on the contours. Let's see, we've got name of owner, all adjoining property owners as disclosed by the nearest tax records. I think we've got owners for either side. Do we also need owners for across the street?
if the code doesn't specify, then I would say, yeah, you should
Okay.
probably,
Okay, so we need owners, I'm just trying to make sense of, make sure there's not, those details aren't here hidden somewhere, and,
mhm.
I don't think so. I think these are, I think we don't have any notations about the lots across the street, so
Okay.
that's the thing that.
So like the two houses right in front of me.
Yeah, yeah. I would probably do all 3 lots, because, the subdivision, although you're creating a new one, you're also modifying an old one.
Sure.
So, all,
Neighbors.
yeah. All right, we also have, Tax map sheet, block and lot numbers, which I think we do. That's the TPN number. Is that right?
I can't tell, I've just got a 8.5 by 11, so I can't, I see some writing on these,
There's-
something
Would
else.
you like to look at a bigger one?
Sure. I'll
Yeah.
look on-
Yeah, there are
Oh, okay.
TPN numbers.
Yeah, I would think,
That's the tax parcel number?
yeah,
Yeah.
usually it would be a SBL, section block lot, that's how it would be
Yeah,
noted,
okay.
but I think that's,
Okay.
what that show.
All utilities available in all streets, which are either, we don't have any streets here, so I don't care about that, but we do care about utilities. So the current, utilities that are supplying the existing house. And I assume that the lot to be created doesn't have any utilities currently connecting to it.
It does not,
Okay.
correct.
Uh,
A note to that as well,
yeah,
all of the neighbors in that
Yeah.
area have no idea where anything is. Like.
Sure.
Yeah, so finding that has been a little precarious.
Yeah.
Because even the surveyor, when I asked him to find the line, he literally just threw his hammer and was like, "Just try there," and I was like, oh, okay.
understood. I think that's something that I would assume the village engineer could help with in this process. Yeah.
And I think, it would be important to note, not necessarily the location, but just whether there is, sewer and water, or
Okay.
whether it's gonna be septic and well, I assume it's
Yeah.
got sewer and water.
It does,
but-
yeah, it does.
Yeah.
It does.
Okay, we've got the dimensions of the lot. We've got, one thing that would be just super helpful, and this, we see this in a lot of applications, is, so you've got the dimensional requirements here. That is technically sufficient to do the mental math of mapping the numbers that are on the chart.
Yeah.
Or on the map to this, but it would be super helpful if you could actually make the chart that is like the standard lot 1, lot 2, and the actual numbers, and then a judgment that says that whether that is conforming or not. Does that make sense? Like, so you basically have all these dimensions, which is lot area, lot shape, lot width, lot depth, blah, 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 everything that's in here. You've highlighted the requirements, which is this one row RN.
Yep,
If you take that, put that at the top, and then put 2 rows below it, or 3 rows below it, lot 1, lot 2, what those numbers are for each one, and then just note that or whether it's conforming or not.
okay,
Does that make sense?
it does, correct.
Okay.
I got you.
So that can be, it can be on here, or it can be, an additional, table, but just something that helps us not have to do the math in our head.
No problem.
Yeah. So here we got, street layout, we've got that, recreations areas, don't think there are any there. But if there are, you should note them. Systems of drainage, sewer, and
I'm
water
sorry.
supply.
You said like recreation, you're saying?
Yeah, if there, I don't actually remember if there are any recreation areas up there, but,
So right, like on that line,
uh-huh.
right behind it is the school. So
Okay.
that's the field and all.
Yeah, yeah,
So note that,
yeah,
yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
The backfill's right.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But the sewerage and the water supply and the drainage, those are gonna be things that are top of mind for us, so if there are existing waterways or drainage lines or anything like that on either property, let's make note of it so that we understand the impact of the current state of the drainage and what does it mean for the new lot to, we make new lots because we want them to be buildable,
Of
right?
course,
So like,
yeah.
imagining, okay, well, what will it mean to have a structure on this new lot? How will that impact all these other kind of environmental concerns with water and usage and waste and drainage?
Okay.
All right, right, I've been talking for a while. I think those are the sketch plan requirements. That is what we would like to see in order what we'd have liked to see to make, a full determination about major or minor. Again, I think this is straightforward enough where I think we could probably move forward with a determination without that. I'll leave it to the board to agree or disagree when we get to that point. All right, I think that what's left is just other questions that folks have about the lot, and anything else that's kind of top of mind to help us make this initial decision, and you know, also to inform information that we would like as we get deeper into the process.
So the minimum lot size is 7,500, is that the?
Yeah.
Okay, and you're at 9,300, something like that, okay.
I don't think East Belvedere has curbs, does it?
It does not.
No,
It's unpaved.
It might, I don't know if you've even thought this far ahead yet, but it might be helpful too to show the location of the proposed driveway. I don't know if you have anything in mind,
Okay.
but,
Yeah, I guess that was sort of one question, which is how much into the new lot do we delve? Or are we just okaying the split?
We need to imagine as part of our planning duties, like I said, we don't make lots for them to sit vacant. We make lots so that they can be built upon. And so the expectation would be that we would need to imagine, okay, what is allowable for this site? How does it impact the neighbors? You know, and you know, can there be a conforming building that's placed on here? If the answer is no, then that's an important thing to note. So not just for the new lot, but for the existing lot, because we are modifying
Right.
the existing lot to be smaller. So not saying that's true in this case, but if we modified the lot to no longer have the appropriate setbacks on the side, then that would make the old lot non-conforming, which is not a thing we could approve. So those are like, we need to kind of have an eye towards both. Obviously, the vacant lot requires a little bit more imagination about what will be there and the way in which it might impact neighbors. But we should think about both.
Would we eventually see a plan? Would the building itself come before us after we approve the split?
I don't think there's any reason for that to come before us.
Okay,
Once the lot is buildable, there's no requirement for a site plan of a new structure on an existing lot with no existing structure, as long as the plan is conforming and they don't want to do anything unusual, then
Okay.
it should just be like, you know,
They
it's your
go-
property. We have the code, that's the whole point,
okay.
build away.
Okay.
and I think, maybe in this case, it would be good to refer this to the planning board's engineering consultant too, to weigh in on some of, those factors, because, you know, when you're putting up a new house, you
Yeah.
have more impervious surface and drainage, so.
I had imagined that being, do you feel like we need to do that now? I was imagining that being a part of when we got into more of the official application.
Yeah, I don't think it could hurt to start earlier
Okay.
in the game, and not that they necessarily have to do a whole lot of work now, but just to bring them on
Also,
board.
just so you guys know too, my original plan was to build on this
Uh-huh.
parcel. And I don't think I am anymore, so
Okay.
that's gonna be up to whoever,
Sure.
you know, purchases
Yep.
the property at that point too.
Yeah.
So what point are we then? So allowing the subdivision, are we then looking for some kind of plan in allowing the subdivision? So we're,
Sorry, can you,
so in other words, we're saying, yes, you can subdivide, but,
well,
but,
you mean eventually, like the whole process, what is the outcome?
yeah, what's the outcome?
The outcome is the approval of two new lots.
Two new lots.
Yeah, modification to an existing one and a creation of a
But
new
are
one.
are we allowing us a new lot without knowing what that new lot is gonna look like?
Well, we'll know what the dimensions are.
Right.
We will have no idea what someone will want to do with it. That's governed
Right.
by the code as it stands.
But I guess we can ask if it can have water, sewer hooked up.
Well, it will need, that's part of going through this process is actually needing to provide explicitly how those things are gonna happen. 'Cause
Okay,
we can't make a lot that's someone else's problem to figure out how to connect to livable services.
okay.
And to that same point, one of the things I have to look a little further into is access, because I don't believe East Belvedere is actually recognized as a public street. And,
You're correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, all the neighbors have kind of, they held like a town meeting over at the
Oh,
street.
It's a private road.
yeah. It's,
So what are the
I think
implications?
there's a bit of a gray area.
Yeah, there's a gray area for
Yeah.
sure.
Interesting.
I learned a lot of history of that street during this process. It's been pretty interesting.
I bet.
So you could potentially need a variance. There's a special variance that basically allows a lot to not have access to a public road.
Gotcha.
I
Okay.
saw in the deed, there's like a little bit of language that's kind of an easement. It's not super detailed, but
Okay.
just something to look into and note,
Okay.
before anything's approved.
Forget about it, so I don't forget about it.
Can I ask you, the language in the deed, there was confusion about, because obviously the neighbors want that road paved,
Yeah.
right? And in their deeds, it doesn't say anything about them owning part of the street, but in then our deed, it does.
Hmm.
Right? I don't know if you saw that at any point.
I didn't see that
Okay,
specifically, no.
all right,
Mm.
because I think that that was the conversation that they were trying to figure out, like how they could give that portion up so they can get the road paved
Right.
and snow removal and all that.
Okay.
Right.
All right, so maybe we can make a point before we meet again to figure out what the referral needs to be.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Just, I'm sure you've heard or seen that the parts of the village can absolutely get nailed in stormwater.
Mm.
It's quite phenomenal. It's so what I would just want to make sure that in subdividing and changing the land, that we wouldn't be either creating a new or exacerbating an existing problem.
Yeah, so funny, the 6 East Belvedere, when I first got the property, it was completely flooded, so I was gonna pass on it.
Mhm.
And I thought that it was actually the groundwater, but what it really was that there was, somebody winterized the property and they did it incorrectly, so the baseboard heating exploded. So I was kind of waiting to see if there was gonna be a groundwater issue, so when I did the house, I ripped out the subfloors, ripped
Yeah.
out the floors, redid all the joists, so on and so forth.
Yeah,
And I waited and sat
Yeah.
and no water issues at all.
yeah,
And then when I got to learning the neighbors and talking to them, it's the people on the other side of the street, unfortunately, that have most of the issues. On our side of the street,
Not-
Yeah.
not
the
so
water,
much, right?
yeah, the water's clean.
Oh,
yeah,
Yeah, unfortunate.
yeah. I guess it's on the higher, the slope is coming down the hill there.
Yeah,
and-
Yeah, then I guess the street used to be called Underhill Street or something like that before it was East Belvedere. It
I
was,
see.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Water runs Underhill, I guess, but.
I had I have a question, but I think it's not critical for making a determination about this, so I can hold off on it. Does anyone else have questions they feel like are important to be able to make a determination about major or minor subdivision? Okay. Just we designate this as a minor subdivision.
Seems pretty minor to me. Yeah.
I'll second that.
Okay. Do we need an actual motion for it?
Yeah.
Okay, all right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, all right, so we've done that bit of business. I have one more question, just I want to understand, like, you mentioned the kind of the house being for sale. What is the kind of, how do you anticipate navigating the sale of the house while this is still kind of pending?
So we, again, this is the first time I've done a subdivision.
Yeah, yeah.
So I wasn't sure about the timeline.
Yeah.
So when I first thought of the idea, it just wasn't, I wasn't really thinking about subdividing at the time.
Yeah.
So then now I've talked to a lot of people in Cold Spring, met a lot of people through, just at the coffee shop and just, chatting with people. And I have an interested party in the house, right? A few of them, and they're totally fine with waiting for the subdivision because we also have a land buyer as well, who's, another gentleman in town. And so we're just kind of waiting.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you feel like it's clear the stuff that we will need before we can really move on to an application?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think if that's everything that you got from me, I have it all written down. It seems pretty self-explanatory
Okay.
for sure.
Anything else on anyone's mind about this property or this task that's ahead of us?
No,
Ladies and gentlemen,
Thank
thank you for
you.
your help.
Thank you so
Yeah,
much.
thanks very much. I'll see you next time.
Sounds cool.
Believe we've got a couple of members of the public joining us. Would anyone on Zoom like to make a comment to the board? Going once, going twice. Thank you all for watching. We have no board business, so unless,
Did you want to ask Jonathan while he's here, your question about the code that you brought up earlier, or would you rather?
wait, which question? My brain is only half here.
Where you can, the link to the planning board.
Oh. Do you think that's a question for Jonathan?
What would be-
Well, it was mainly just, I think that there's a couple broken links on the website.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
For pointing at the code, and that was just the thing I wanted to, do. For things like that, are the things that I can work with the clerk and like kind of unilaterally with to kind of
Yeah,
adjust?
I would
Okay.
say so, yeah.
Okay,
Okay, so it's there, but it's not.
is there, the village code is on the website.
Right.
But there's a number of links from different corners of the website
yeah,
that you can't actually, that say that they point at the village code, but don't actually point at the village code.
yeah.
Yeah.
So that's, so
There's
you're off the
one
hook on that, Jonathan.
Yeah.
One that has like mayor is one of the directory names, and that one doesn't exist.
Yeah, there's some cleaning up we have to
Yeah,
do,
I've been looking.
but I'll work with you on getting that done.
That's fine.
All right, anyone like to make a motion to adjourn?
Move to adjourn.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thanks, everybody.